Welcome back! We're down to the final 4 episodes of Inktober. Here we go. My erasers and pens and pencils all organized here. And welcome back to RamDragon's Art Studio for October 28th. Today's prompt is ride. Ride. And I'm hoping that if I stall long enough, I'll come up with an idea. How about those Ratfink style images? They were real popular when I was a kid, and I'm sure I just dated myself, but hey, let's get kind of a hot rod style car going on here, and they kind of have a tendency to swoop down in the back, or swoop down in the front and up in the back. Look like the 1920s style chassis with the engine sticking off the front. They put big old tires on them. I actually met the guy who started the Ratfink. He created Ratfink and did the monster and the rat and the first. I mean, he started the fad. He started the style. Make that tire fatter. Fatter? More fat? I think my camera's a little bit off. Give me just a moment. Let me put something here for my camera to see. And just make a quick adjustment here. Try to keep this in the in the white range. That looks better. My first drawings this month were all super dark and super yellow. I've been trying to keep from doing that. Someday when I can get a much better camera, I'll be able to set my balance. It's always the white balance and the gain that gets off. Those are the two settings that aren't getting saved. But someday when I get a much better camera than the one I'm using right now, I'll be able to save those and they'll actually stay saved. This portion here I know it looks like I'm holding my hand funny. It's not just to stay on camera, it's because right here is the edge of my camera stand, and it's right where my knuckles need to be to get that close to the edge of my paper. I can probably readjust a touch. There we go. Get the image in the middle of the camera. That'll work. There we go. I've got some purple sweet potatoes in my garden that are ready to harvest. And the reason why that's so funny is because I planted sweet potatoes, what, 5 years ago? And I've been getting sweet potatoes every year ever since. And I've mentioned before, if you have trouble with a green thumb and don't know how to grow anything in your garden that'll survive, plant some sweet potatoes. Just go to the grocery store, buy a sweet potato, cut off about 2 inches of it, and plant it about 2 to 3 inches deep in the soil. And you don't really have to do too much to it. You just put it in the dirt. And my goodness, I went, when I did that, I went 3 months thinking I just basically fertilized my garden. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any sprouting. Nothing. And there's a few groceries you can get from the grocery store. A few produce items that you can do that with. Onions. You can replant the onion tops and get, depending on how you manage the plant, you can either get a giant bulb of onion back out of it, or just harvest the tops, keep it on the windowsill in your kitchen, and harvest the top for chives. So anyway, I planted the sweet potato. Potatoes grow super easy too. And the thing didn't sprout for months and months. And finally it did. And the thing has been utterly indestructible ever since. Now, the rat fink drawings that I started talking about, they're much more stylized than what I'm doing. The cars have a kind of fluidity, rubbery, textury thing to them that I find quite difficult to draw. And one of the reasons for that is I tend to get very literal, even when I'm trying to draw cartoony. I mean, if you've seen my logo, my RamDragon logo, I've made several different variations of it, and they have a tendency to be overly complicated. They don't translate well to animating. And that's what I originally designed it for. I wanted to animate it, and it'll get animated eventually. It's just a matter of honestly streamlining the art doing more drawings. There's a lot of things that go before the first animation that I still have to do. And I'm trying to think here how the chassis tend to come forward. They come to a small external radiator. I'm actually looking a little bit Munsters right now. Well, that's appropriate. It's good season for it. Munsters had a great hot rod. They weren't on for very many seasons. I tend to wonder how they justified that, but just saw a documentary on the lady that played Lily Munster, the vampire mom, and she was apparently a big deal in Hollywood before she became Lily Munster, and was apparently a big deal in Hollywood until well after the Munsters. I never knew that. The only thing that really survives of her work, well, I shouldn't say survives of her work, remains popularly accessible of her work, is the Munsters. And I always remember there was an episode of Scooby-Doo. They did a lot of crossovers when I was a kid. They did a crossover with the Munsters. And their monster car was alive for some stupid reason. And I always hated that. I drove me nuts that they would do something like that. They would bring the Munsters in and then create a whole new Munsters character that wasn't in the show just to take up screen time. When they took the time to get the original actors in to do the voiceover work for the animated version of their characters because it was a crossover, and I'm trying not to be very literal with this part. The wheels I am being literal with because, I mean, they're wheels. I know what they look like. You know what they look like. I've been growing increasingly aggravated with certain grammatical affectations that keep showing up over and over again. And one of them is the phrase, how it looks like, or how it tastes like, or something along those lines. And it's not right. It's what it looks like or how it looks. But it's never how it looks like. That's, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Retarded. And I think I finally discovered where it comes from. And there's an increasing number of YouTubers, very popular YouTubers who speak English as a second language, who come from countries that either it's common to learn English in school, or it's common to learn English after school because there's a distinctive English accent that comes with those certain countries. And the way that it ends up playing out is people from those countries often use very similar phrasing or phrases for things or words for things that you don't find in other places. But the people from those areas, I'm not even sure how exhaust pipes look. The people from those areas, they use the same phrases over and over again. And they're using English as a second language. They're learning from people who learned English as a second language, etc., etc. Because English is common in those countries, there's plenty of opportunity for native speakers in those countries to teach English. But they come with phrases like the mangled grammar of how it looks like, and this is how it looks like. Yeah, I mean, just constantly I hear that, and I've been hearing it in the news and on the radio lately, and just all over the place. And I think it's these YouTubers who, like I said, English is their second language. And they're becoming very popular, and people are, I mean, and believe me, I know what kind of work goes into becoming popular on YouTube, and I do not at all underestimate the amount of work that has gone into that kind of a career. I applaud it. I admire it. I wish I could emulate it. That would be ideal lifestyle right there. And because they use certain phrases like that frequently, kids start using it, and then the parents are exposed to it, and the parents, you know, in this country anyway, frequently aren't willing to discipline the grammar of their children because that's the job of the school. I am just having a terrible time with this shape, holding my hand in such an awkward position. I almost wish I had templates. I've never used templates for ovals. That is horrible. I am going to lose sleep tonight over how bad my shapes are on this drawing. I'm going to continue to beat myself up over it. But anyway, as I was saying, because they don't correct, often what happens is it starts to leak into common parlance, and something like that. Sure, why not? And then there's a inner rim. Great, I have to do this again in an awkward position. I'm not looking forward to inking this shape. This is going to be incredibly awkward to ink. I don't know how they do tread. I don't draw enough vehicles. I'm absolute rubbish at this. This is completely outside of my wheelhouse. Wheelhouse. But anyway, as I was saying, you know, it's the unwillingness to recognize, or inability to recognize, when those kind of grammatical mistakes happen, and the corrections compound. And I'm hearing it in common use from professionals in the news, professional presenters who should know how the English language works. It's I once commissioned a shirt and I never paid for it, so I didn't get it. That said, it's English, not rocket science. And because that's how I feel about most of the people I speak to. It's frustrating to have to decode everything they say because they can't word right. And I know, I agree, words are hard. Wording can be difficult. We're not all William Shakespeare, and we shouldn't all have to be. But still, there are certain phrases that just people should know that they're the wrong way to say things. It sounds I don't want to say it sounds stupid because that makes me sound like a troll, but it sounds like it's coming from an uneducated person, and most of the time I hear it, it's not coming from uneducated people, which is why I get frustrated at it. Need to top off. Well, this is looking a little odd. I'm not entirely happy with it. Yeah, I need a driver in here. Let's get a Bean Man going in here. You know what I haven't drawn in a while? I haven't drawn this entire October. So I haven't drawn a RamDragon at all. And it's the name of the channel. I should have one. And I should have at least one RamDragon drawing. So let's get a really deformed version of me in there. Wow, those are some huge teeth. What's wrong with me? Whew. pushing my sheet a little far into the shadow here. I'm keeping this drawing a lot looser than I usually do. I've been drawing very tightly recently, and I don't have the muscle memory that I used to have to really pull it off. So I've been drawing what I consider to be far below my my usual level. But very simple drawings, very line art that doesn't really justify drawing so tightly. And I figure I'll try to draw this one a little looser than normal. Let's see, what else? Doors are hard to use. I don't know what's wrong with this mechanism. It's disposable. It's not meant to last very long. Let's get a door handle on there. Who knows what that looks like. A little bit of glass showing here because, I mean, it's a convertible, but it still has windows. Not that the doors can even open. Well, with those giant tires in the way. I'm sure somebody who is a actual fan of cars would be able to draw a much better hot rod than I. Excuse me. Wow, that was bubbly. That's what I get for drinking sodas this early. But it's also how I wake up. So oh, sure, we'll go with that. I'm going to leave the rest of this relatively loose just because I want to work it out in ink. It's time to get to the ink. Or, as they say in France, get on with it already. Very rude, I swear. Should start with some background details like the wheel here. Something that I can mess up a little bit and it's not going to really affect the whole drawing so much. But it gives me a chance to change modes from sketching to inking. Do want these tires to look a little balloon-like, so and I'm going off of very poor memories of what a hot rod looks like and how I've seen them represented in the past. I'm kind of semi-emulating several different things at the same time because I just don't know how to do this. But that's the whole point of Inktober, right? We get to stretch ourselves out a little bit, try something new and different. That's a better line. It wasn't quite thick enough before. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start on less important parts of the car. That line did not end up straight. And yeah, that's very visible on the camera. Well, darn. And I'm very tempted to use straight edge on some of these pieces since they're mechanical. They tend to look more mechanical when the straight edges are straight. But at the same time, I'm semi-emulating that Ratfink style, along with several other very cartoony elements. So I'm not going to worry about the straightness of the edges so much. This pen has just about had it. I need to make a run to the art store and buy new ones. From what I can remember, as I said, I met the Ratfink guy years and years ago, and his name completely escapes my memory, as do most names. But one of the things I believe he was telling me, we were just chatting the right way. I don't even remember how I met the guy, but I was sitting on the guy's porch chatting away while he was drawing these things. I was walking by and saw him doing it. I saw him working on one. And I've always been very interested in art and artists, so I took the opportunity to stop by. It was also how I met a guy who was working on a guitar, a custom guitar for Aerosmith. And if I remember the end of the story, the guy spent 6 weeks building this guitar in his garage, and it never actually got played on stage. He had to get it done. They were coming to town for a concert. He had to get it done before the concert, and they never actually played it on stage. He was very disappointed, but it's how I meet a lot of artists. They're out working on things and just start chatting them up. But I was talking to this guy, and he was very big into classic car restoration. That was kind of his wheelhouse. It's where he had come from. And one day he was trying to explain a concept for a hot rod, and he couldn't quite explain it in a way that the people he was talking to could understand. And so he tried to draw the car, and he wasn't an artist at all. And he kind of ended up accidentally creating at Ratfink. And of all the things he worked on, that was what became famous. And well after retirement, he continued to make those drawings. Wow. I am terrible at this. Ugh. Well, and there we go. That was a place where I hadn't erased properly. I didn't finish up the drawing well enough to catch a mistake. So there it goes. It got made. Yeah, I'll call it an elbow. Let's see. Let's go back down here. Looking forward to Halloween. Don't know about y'all, but I don't really have any good Halloween plans this year, but I'm still really feeling into the season this year. Probably just end up sitting out on the porch handing out candy again. But honestly, that's about par for the course for me. And that just turned into Crazy Brow. I guess I'll have to run with it. I wasn't really thinking while I was doing that, but yeah, we'll do it. We'll run with it. Last bit of line here. I think. No, I've got a whole other tire to do. Wow. Ah, fart. That's all messed up. Oh well. Messing up on art is like farting in the wind. You only have to get caught if you really want to. Yeah. The problem with this shape is I have no idea what it is. And I'm just kind of making it worse. All right. Might need some branding on the wheel here. I am flying on the seat of my pants on this one. That was very nerve-wracking, trying to make a continuous line that doesn't quite match the underlying structure. Is not one of my favorite things. And like I said, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this drawing a little more loose than before, because I've kind of lost a bit of, not just, I keep saying I've lost my muscle memory. I have lost a lot of manual dexterity. I have lost, as a result of that, quite a bit of my drawing confidence, which is some of the things I'm trying to build back up as I do these drawing prompt exercises. Oh, and over here too. Let's start erasing process and see what we have to clean up. There, have a little bit to put back in. Lost my line. I'll have to go back in with my brush and fix that up and hopefully make it look like it was always supposed to be that way. Wow, I speared a lot of pencil around this one. How bad's my hand? It's not too bad. But yeah, I definitely have ink, graphite on it. Yeah. That is my dirtiest page yet. I don't think I had any drawing this month that I made as dirty a page on. Let's see, how are we going to clean this up? I should remember to breathe. Ooh, a little lightheaded on that one. Need a light on a timer or something that reminds me to exhale. Fortunately, I haven't had one to remind me to inhale. I haven't had need of one, rather. Just a couple more lines in here to help add weight and gravity. That brush pen is simply no longer up to the task. I really should throw it away, but it's great at filling in large areas, so I do keep it around for that purpose. This brush pen is much better. It actually gives me the reactions I need for thin and thick lines. Alright, well, I think I'm going to probably take my hands off of the drawing now. A little bit of a window missing there. I think there's a lot more that could be done, but at this point, I honestly think it's going to be a downhill ride. Pun unintended. At some point, you have to realize if you continue to work a drawing, you're just going to be pushing it farther away from the goal rather than closer to. So this one, I think, would be served very well by adding color to it, but that is not in the scope of today's exercise. So I'm just gonna sign it. I'm gonna call it done. Actually, let me get the pen that's good for signing. My brush pen probably not so much. JRM, that's me. RD, that's RamDragon Studio. And it is 2019. Thank you for joining me for today's drawing of a ride. And I look forward to doing this again tomorrow. See y'all then.